I'm Brian Moran, founder of Government CIO. Welcome to Government CIO Magazine.
Hi, this is Tiffany Longstrap with Government CIO Magazine. Today we will be interviewing the Administrator of the General Services Administration, Mr. Dan Tangherlini.
The idea that our appropriations and our budget is really kind of a statement of trust that the Congress and the administration places in an agency is incredibly important to us. And so we've been working for the last couple of years to really take a hard look at the money that the public entrusts in us and ask ourselves, how do we get the maximum value out of it? We've spent a lot of time really looking at the way the organization is structured, the way we go to market, and what things should cost. And we've then, as a result, made a number of big changes within the organization. We've consolidated a lot of our administrative services functions, so we have something, and this may not sound too revolutionary, but we have something like one Chief Information Officer now. Before we had several for various different parts of the organization, and as a result, we didn't have a real sense of the enterprise architecture of our IT, and as a result, we spent more money than we should have on delivering those services and weren't getting the quality that we could. By having a single CIO, a single accountable CIO, we've now begun to develop an enterprise architecture that is reducing our cost of delivering services and therefore reducing the cost of the federal agencies we serve. We think that that's an example of the way that we encourage further trust in the organization so that people feel that it's a good investment. To work successfully with an organization that has a large portion of its staff either telecommuting or eligible for telecommuting really requires nothing more magic than the most fundamental managerial responsibility of understanding what it is your employees do, how you measure productivity and outcomes with those employees, and then having consistent ongoing dialogue with those employees around performance. I actually believe that there really is no difference in terms of managing an employee you can see and one who's telecommuting. If you don't really have an understanding of what they're doing and what their outcomes are, even if you can see them, you're not going to be able to manage them better than if they were teleworking. The real issue is whether you have an honest sense of what that employee is doing and what that expectation is so that it can be delivered wherever they feel they can be most productive in delivering it. The other half of that then is how do you make the workplace inviting and interesting enough that people want to come in, that they want to interact with their fellow employees. And I think, frankly, that's actually the bigger challenge in a world in which more and more people are going to have access to more and more of what they need to do their work wherever they are, rather than in some place we've described as the workplace. We're really excited about the idea of connecting all of our employees with the evolution here at GSA. So early on, after I got here, we started something called the Great Ideas Hunt, which was really an opportunity for us to go beyond the traditional hierarchical channels of information sharing and turn to all 12,000 associates at GSA and ask them, hey, what are your ideas for this organization to run better? And we got some great ideas right off the top. One idea was, why are we still doing paper-based surveys for occupants of buildings? It means we can only survey people every 3 years. It was incredibly expensive, about $2 million a year, and the results weren't particularly useful or immediately actionable. And so we've actually moved towards an electronic survey. We're continuing to work on how can we do more meaningful continuous assessment of what our customers think of the work product that we provide. I think that that's actually how you move the needle in terms of quality, in terms of outcome, and in terms of responsiveness. And that's the kind of idea that you can really only get when you directly communicate with your employees and give them an opportunity to point out that maybe in this instance, the emperor, isn't wearing as much clothes as he or she thinks they are. So we think that the Great Ideas Hunt is really less a specific instance of asking for ideas and more of a continuous process of engaging our employees and our managers in a dialogue that says, how can we continuously improve the service we deliver? The biggest challenge for any organization is really getting some sense that there's a common goal that people are shooting for and engaging everyone in that goal. And that's the key challenge for leadership. It's the key challenge for management on all levels. And then it's a common challenge for all people working in an organization to really commit to trying to get to some outcome. One of the ways that we're trying to get people engaged around that discussion of outcome and performance is actually in the way we are organizing ourselves physically. I mentioned earlier about how we're organizing ourselves around a single CIO or a single CFO, doing a lot of work about asking how we go to market and how we organize our activities in terms of the organization chart. But what's really exciting here is that we're actually literally breaking down the barriers, the hierarchical barriers or the org chart barriers, by removing walls and by pulling down cubicle heights and by not assigning seats and asking everyone to think about ways that they can better organize themselves than maybe the org chart based around the work that they're doing or the specific needs that they have. We're challenging supervisors to come out from behind their door in their secure office and sit among their folks and actually be a resource, be a mentor, or even help out. And that frankly starts with the administrator. And so by moving out of the beautifully wood-paneled and coffered ceilinged and working fireplace, 1,600 square foot power office, and sitting among folks just within an open office space really sets a tone that the expectation is going to be that people can relate to each other at all levels within the organization because we have a shared focus on delivering this great outcome. In order to get great outcomes, part of what you have to do is be honest about how you're doing in achieving those outcomes. You have to set some goals, and then you have to make sure those goals are measurable, and then you have to be committed to the continuous process of actually measuring your performance against those goals. If you wait to the end of the year, if you wait to the end of the performance cycle, and then you stand at the end of that road and look backwards and ask yourself, did we get as far as we wanted to? You've missed an opportunity. You've missed an opportunity during that entire journey to reset your bearings, to reset your speed, to reset your heading, to even decide whether that's actually the destination you want to go to or not. And so what we've really done here is use our SES performance plans, particularly at the senior leadership level, to be that set of goals and outcomes that we're trying to achieve as an organization. We use our senior leadership team meeting every week to actually review the performance on an alternating cycle of the major parts of the organization. Say, okay, here's the goal we set. How are we performing against that goal? Are we doing well? Are we in trouble? Are we failing? We even give everyone an opportunity to say, is this the right goal? Is there something else we should be looking at? And we think by having that continuous assessment process, that has to filter down into the organization, that we do have clear priorities, we are committed to achieving them, and you do have some sense of our relative performance. The idea being that when you do sit down then for that annual performance conversation, it's not really a surprise about how well we did or where we need to make improvements. So one of the big fears with an organization that is focused on specific goals, specific outcomes, continuous measurement, and analysis of that is that you might become overly focused on those outcomes and those measures, those goals and those numbers. The fear is that you lose some of the innovative spark and the ability to think of new ways of doing things, or challenge yourself to maybe even ask yourself the question about, is this what I'm supposed to be doing at all? And so that's why it's important that as we commit to the discipline of continuous evaluation and performance, that we also commit to the discipline of continually asking ourselves, are these things we really want to achieve? Is there a better way to do it? I think the trick to that is to continually engage with employees and try to find new ways to get them excited and interested and give them a sense that they do have the ability to change the direction of the organization. I think also it requires us to have a continuous and ongoing dialogue with the people we work with and serve, the federal agencies, the federal agency leadership, our vendors, our broader community of people who we do business with, and then think ultimately about the American people and what value we're trying to make sure that they get. I think that's one of the most difficult challenges. The trick is really giving people some sense that they're going to be backed up and that they have an opportunity, if they try something, to even make a mistake, even fail. I think key to that really is making sure that people have a chance to think big but act small. Try stuff out. Build a minimally viable product and try it on 5 or 10 of your closest friends or associates first, rather than making these giant swings of the bow of this big ocean liner here and hoping for best when you get in that direction. I think experimentation is really the key to innovation, and then supporting people in that experimentation. So the real question then is, if you want to innovate and if you want to have people try new things, how do they feel that they're involved in the process and that they're supported in doing it? And I think that that's the key management challenge, and I don't know where we are on the spectrum yet. We are working really hard to find safe opportunities for people to raise their ideas, such as the Great Ideas Hunt. We're working really hard to encourage management at every level to listen to their folks. We're making it harder for people to hide from that dialogue by pulling down walls and pushing our leaders into groups of the folks that they actually work with, they serve, and they're supposed to lead. I think that that's all part of the ingredients you need for people to be supported in making, taking the risk and coming up with innovative ideas. We're demonstrating our willingness as an organization to experiment by starting efforts like 18F. We're supporting collaboration between PBS and FAS through efforts like the Total Workplace. We're advocating for innovative approaches to space through our continuous demonstration here at 1800F and our efforts to bring agencies together to see what this looks like and encourage them, even co-invest with them in doing the same. So I think we'll monitor closely things like the Employee Viewpoint Survey. We'll monitor closely participation in our town halls. And we'll see how people continue to involve themselves in the Great Ideas Hunt to see if we're succeeding as leaders in giving people that sense that they can play along. Part of engaging with folks is making sure that they have the ability to connect with each other. And in the environment we're operating in, with very, very strict concern and focus and oversight, intense oversight on things like training expenditure and conference expenditure, it's clear that we needed to make some changes, and that the way we had been doing things for a long time were frankly unsustainable. They're unsustainable organizationally, they're unsupportable politically, and they are frankly unsustainable financially. We have been able to reduce our expenditures on things like conferences by over 80% over the last couple of years. We've really pushed that kind of funding or that expenditure down. The question, though, as you push it down, is how do you not miss the opportunity for people to gain the appropriate level of kind of connection and relationship and communication and partnership? That's where we've turned increasingly to leveraging the tremendous investment that the American taxpayer has made in the information technology here in the federal government by leveraging things like video conferencing, leveraging online training tools, leveraging our social media structures and even our internal social media platform, Chatter, off of Salesforce. So using some of the tools that people have invested in and encouraging our employees to use that as a way to build those communities, to build those relationships, to build that dialogue so that we can continue to learn from each other and learn about each other. In looking at expenditures like conferences and travel, we think that there's an opportunity for us not just look at the budget and cut it and say, well, we're gonna save money by having less trips or we need to be more thoughtful than that. Part of being more thoughtful than that is making sure that we provide the best possible tools so that agencies, employees, and ultimately the American taxpayer can be assured that they're getting the best value for necessary travel. The simple fact is that GSA's program is national. We have over 10,000 facilities we concern ourselves with. We serve agencies across the entire country, even across the world, through our Federal Acquisition Service. And those agencies have a global presence as well. Travel is necessary, travel is important, travel makes sure that there are eyes and ears, paying attention to the expenditure of federal funds and that we're getting great outcomes. When you travel, though, it's important that we make sure that people get the best value, they see what the opportunities are, they have a chance to have the kind of flexibilities we have in our personal life in terms of our ability to make sure we compare the right price and understand the best times and understand what the options are. GSA has been proud to provide an electronic travel system for the federal government for close to a decade now. And we're in the process of going through a renewal of our electronic travel system that we think will actually expand the amount of functionality for federal travel managers and federal employees, give people better options, give them more visibility into cost structure, give them more ability to pick the best value for their agency and the American taxpayer. So we're excited about this transition as we go from our kind of first generation travel system to our second generation system. One of GSA's key roles is working with federal agencies and improving the way the federal government delivers on information technology services. In fact, we have a leadership position in a cross-agency goal around improving IT services and IT contracting. Now, GSA has been a long-standing leader in helping agencies move from traditional paper-based processes to digital services. And that speed of transition in the rest of the economy has been dramatically increasing in terms of the way we do everything in our personal lives, the way we shop, the way we communicate, the way we relate, the way we do things like banking. I think that it's important that the federal government understand that something's happened over the last 5-10 years, really mainly in the last 5, with the invention of the smartphone. That's really the tip of the iceberg of a digital revolution that's taking place in the way much of our economy is being managed and being run. So GSA really has to help agencies recognize that slow, iterative processes of moving towards digital service delivery really aren't going to work anymore, and that there has been a dramatic change in the way people expect to be able to relate to their government, in the way there's been a dramatic change in the way people relate to almost everything else that they do. So GSA has been focusing on finding ways to make our schedules more approachable, really creating more flexibility, alacrity, creating more capacity for helping agencies make this transition. As part of that, GSA recognized that we need to teach ourselves and we need to teach our customers how to imitate really the best practices in IT and digital services that's happening in the private sector, and really learning from startup culture about iterative processes, things like minimally viable products, really getting customer engagement and involvement in the process of developing products that maybe challenge the way we've traditionally contracted for things. Having some capacity within our organization that we can share with the rest of the federal government that understands how code is written, how a product is developed, and how it's shipped is really important for the entire organization, both GSA and frankly more broadly the United States government, to think about new ways of delivering services that the American people expect and frankly demand in terms of the way we get our work done. We're really excited about the changes that are happening in GSA. We're really excited even about the challenges that the federal government is facing, because it represents an opportunity for us to think in different and more innovative ways. But in order for us to be truly successful in delivering the services that people need in a way they want them, we need to have continuous feedback and dialogue. That needs to happen within GSA. And so we're going to continue to challenge our employees and challenge ourselves to continue to generate great ideas and to continually assess our performance, our results, and our outcomes, and continually ask ourselves, are we delivering the services that people need in a way that meets their expectation of value? But we also need feedback from our agencies that we serve, the vendors we work with, and the American people. And so an opportunity to have a conversation like this today hopefully will spark some feedback. We're not convinced that we're doing everything right. In fact, we are convinced that there's more that we can do better. And so what we need are ideas, suggestions, commentary, even criticism to help us be better at doing the work that we do. Because everything we do is in service of our agency partners, who ultimately deliver on incredibly important missions that support the American people.